close to the third green, a lot of traffic on the course today, so I'll take the opportunity to obviously do some content and get that as soon as possible. So what I want to talk about, what I've been talking about in the previous video, is how to shallow the club shaft, okay? So what I mean by shallowing the club shaft is obviously when we lay the club down into a position where the hands get quite low, the club head's obviously lower than our hand path, and that's where we're able to release it properly from the inside and create that desired distance. But what common faults, I'm going to discuss 3 common faults and 3 fixes that are associated with this fault, okay? So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to regurgitate everything, trying to get into a better position, okay? So the first thing that I see when people who struggle to lay the club down is what happens is they've got quite a weak grip, okay? So they get to top the backswing. Say if I was to get into a neutral position, my left wrist would be flat. If I was, this emblem would be in a good position with my club shaft, okay? So the emblem on the glove would match the club face, okay? So if I was to do that, club face is point to the ground, okay? That's in an open position, okay? So a good thing to do that is bring the club back to the golf ball and see how the club face is open. Another thing that we want to strive for is trying to get this left wrist from a cupped position into a more bowed or flatter position, okay? So if people get into a position where they're in a weak position, okay, I just feel when you've got a weak grip, there's no control to the club head, and obviously your hands don't rotate properly. It's restricted, okay? So if my club face is open, I have to do something. I have to manipulate something in order to get the club face back on plane, or club face back in the correct position. So if I was to take club to the top of the backswing, my left was cupped, my left wrist would cupped, that globe would point to the ground. So from here, it's quite hard for me to lay the shaft down without moving my body too much, okay? So if I was to get in the cup position, I have to move my body or early extend to try and close the club face, so the club face is open. If I was to hit the ball with the club face open, the ball would go right. So what happens is if I was to get in a cup position, I have to early release to try and get the club back to the left, okay? So we don't want to do that. What we want to do is grip it a little bit stronger, okay? Not Dustin Johnson style where he gets this, he's got roll in his wrists and he's able to rotate his body enough. I wouldn't recommend that if you're just a normal golfer. So top of the backswing, try and feel like you bow your left wrist. From that position, the club's able to drop down the way, so there's no interference from the body. Obviously, if we rotate our hips, or no manipulation from that pulling down on the handle, okay? So if we get top of the backswing, lay that wrist down from here, we're able to release it, the club round the corner, and obviously release it. So feel like the Bridgestone logo points to the sky all the way through, and then feel like that lays the club down, okay? Another thing that I see is people pulling on the club shaft too much, okay? Or pulling on the club handle. So what happens from here? So what I mean by that is when people get top of the backswing, they're in a hurry to release the golf club, okay? So a lot of beginner golfers who want to hit the ball harder, so what happens is they'll quicken up their arms and they don't take into consideration what their body's doing, okay? So what we need to try and do is try and get our body and our arms moving. So if we turn our body properly, our hands can work in tandem with that movement, okay? So it's called centrifugal forces. So if our body's working properly, our arms are able to obviously fall into category with that, okay? So anything my body do, my hands respond to it, okay? So if I get into a position where people pull on the club shaft, my body's got to get out of the way somehow, so I have to early release, okay? What happens from here? Path's going left and I get quite steep, okay? So what we need to do, instead of get this club shaft steep where almost the butt end of the club, so focus on the butt end of the club here. So if I was to pull down the handle, the butt end of the club would point straight to the ground, okay? So what I want to do is feel like that this butt end of the club points out in front of me, okay? So I'm not, but if I pull on that, then obviously the butt end's going down to the ground, and any momentum, any velocity I create is going straight into the ground. So I feel like get top of the backswing, and then I release those angles, okay? So add a bit of flexion to that wrist, but obviously keeping it facing the sky. The last tip I'm going to focus on is hand path. Obviously I've looked into that a bit exclusively, but this time I'm going to focus on it primarily, okay? So what I mean by hand path, it's the way our hands travel in relation to our body. So club path and hand path is completely different, but I won't go into too much detail about that. So people who have, so I'm going to talk about the steepness of our hand path. So if I get top of the backswing and I pull on it, what happens to my hand path is my hands get closer to my body, okay? So if I was to do that with my hands, my body has to do something to try and get out of the way. So what I have to do is I have to try and early release, body loses its position, okay? So early, so if I was to good posture, what happens is people pull on the shaft, the hand path gets too close to their body, and what happens to the club head is they have to obviously cut across the golf course. You need to try and do the opposite. So we need to, obviously, if we turn it, but I'm not saying that you get underneath it, then try and push the hands out to the right. So people who swing too much from the inside, or they get the wrong concept where they say need to shallow the club shaft, so they get the hands like this. What happens is they're actually pushing the club face further to the ball, the club face open. So as long as we rotate our body properly, our hands can fall down into the desired position. So what we need to do is feel like our hand path is going closer to our body. Okay, that throws the club head out to the right, and it gives the club face enough time to rotate. Okay, it gives us enough time. So if we pull the hands close to the body, then my body's got to jump out the way somehow. So it's basically, if I pull on the handle, I have to jump out the way like that. So feel like when you get into a better position, hands go out to the right, throws the club head, and that is able to release the club properly. And if I push my hands out to the right, what happens to the club head? It lowers. Okay, so if I pull down on it, head gets quite steep, and then from here I've got no chance of getting it back on. So get to the top of the backswing, feel like I add a bit of flexion to my lead wrist, pushes the club head lower than the hands, and then from here what happens there is the hands are pushed out to the right, club head, because the hands bring the club head round, the hands stop and then fully release the golf club into a full extension type thing. So 3 tips to work on, break them down, work point by point the next time you go and practice. What we talked about was obviously the position of the lead wrist, getting a more board position is able to lower the club, and then obviously pulling down on the handle. If the handle gets steep or the club shaft gets steep, that's when we can't rotate enough. The body has to do something differently, compensate. And the last thing what we talked about is hand path. Okay, so if you pull on the handle, the hand path gets too far to the left, and that's where we can't rotate properly. So try and get the hand path more to try and delay the hand path by lowering it, and then allow the club head to rotate properly. Okay, so if you've got any thoughts on that video, subscribe to my channel at Jamie Allan Golf, free subscription. If you want any more tips, comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks.